Pokemon Go is all about collecting. Obviously, there are hundreds of different Pokemon to find, and then you have some different forms, shiny versions, perfect stats, and shinies with perfect stats. And Shadow, Purified, Lucky, Shadow Shinies, Shadow Shundos, Special Backgrounds, Legacy Moves, Dynamax, Gigantamax. I'm probably missing some. I know it's all completely pointless, and I don't even consider myself a collector. And yet here I am, giving it pretty much all of my free time. So, how did I get here? I started playing Pokemon Go again just about 2 years ago. I say again because I created an account back in 2016 like everybody else. I was pretty busy building this tiny house back in 2016, which is a long story. So Pokemon Go really didn't catch my interest at the time. Honestly, it was kind of boring. I think the spawns were way lower and you basically just walked around aimlessly, hoping to find anything at all. So what little time I had to play video games back then was still mostly spent on Destiny, since that's where my friends were, and live service games, like Destiny, tend to eat up your spare time. Did you know Pokemon Go is a live service game? Somehow, I didn't catch that. Anyway, jump to late 2022. Here I am in the middle of essentially rebuilding a house, and my daughter was born. I was very busy, and very tired. I'm still very tired. I was taking the first half of each night with the baby monitor, and found myself with a little bit of time to play a game before I needed to feed Dottie a bottle before going to bed myself. I finally finished Mario Odyssey, played through Metroid Dread a second time, and then, for the first time in nearly a decade, I started playing a new generation of Pokemon right at its release. Pokemon Scarlet fit perfectly into my crazy life. I could pick it up between baby or house chores, explore a little, catch something, do a battle, then dip back out, all without worrying about a compelling story to keep track of. I couldn't exactly do that with Elden Ring, which was the last big game I played before becoming a parent. The lack of a pause button sorta killed my third playthrough. Anyway, around that time, we got the news that the 3DS eShop was going to shut down, taking with it the old Pokemon games on the Virtual Console. So I got it in my head that I should complete the PokeDex before that happens. I guess I thought it would be fun to relive my childhood a little. So I started researching how I could do that. Is it even possible now that you can't get all the Pokemon into the Gen 8 and 9 games? Well, I quickly learned that mythical Pokemon are still really dumb and basically require you to wait for a limited time event, assuming they ever come back. But you can get them in Pokemon Go and transfer them to Pokemon Home, which is where I decided I should build a living dex, which meant having one of each species of Pokemon stored away forever in a digital prison. To take it a step further, I decided the most interesting type of a living dex was an origin dex, which meant catching each Pokemon from their original region, which corresponds to the generation in which they first appeared. After playing through the old Game Boy Red version on the 3DS, I started a new Pokemon Go account in April of 2023 because I lost the login details for my original account. At first, I didn't want to tell my wife I was playing Pokemon Go. I started going for evening walks after putting our daughter to bed, and it was nice to get out, but my main motivation was to catch Pokemon. And that felt kind of childish. So I kept it to myself for a few weeks. The weather got nicer as summer kicked in, and I started catching Pokemon I'd never even seen before. And I started to take notice of raid battles that would pop up at the gyms. Big ol' legendaries that I had no chance of trying to catch because they require a group of people to take down, and I was very much alone. I thought the gyms were, in general, a waste of time, so I didn't bother with them, until I realized you could get free Pokecoins by leaving your Pokemon there. Then I started paying attention. And that's when the game suddenly put me on its schedule instead of the other way around. I live semi-rural, but in the gym closest to me, this one guy and I had a really good thing going. I never met him, and I've never even seen him, but I would kick him out of the gym in the evening, and he would come back every morning to kick me out. And as long as your Pokemon has been in the gym for 8 hours and 20 minutes before getting kicked out, you'll get the maximum amount of free coins each day. We kept up a nice long streak, barely missing a day. Then he disappeared. My gym stayed blue for days, then weeks. How dare he just quit? So I asked my wife to make an account. Weird, not sure why I did that. And then it became 2 trips to the gym each day. I used my free coins to upgrade my Pokemon and item storage, and stupidly, to get XP boosting lucky eggs. All of which meant I guess I was progressing in the game, but I couldn't get over all the big bad raid bosses that were passing me by. So I started looking for other local players to help me win raids. But the local Discord and Facebook page were basically dead, and Campfire, Niantic's own app for finding groups, was a wasteland. I kind of lost motivation after that, until I decided to try and get my old 2016 account back. See, a friend from where I used to live sent me a screenshot of my old account still on her friends list, and I thought what gold might be living on that account. So after some back and forth with Niantic, it worked. I answered most of their verification questions incorrectly, but I regained access to my 2016 account anyway. During that process, I also remembered a second account I made in 2016 and was able to log in to that one as well. I handed my 2023 account to my daughter, and then with my 2016 account, it was time to start over, but this time I was going to do some raids. I got out there every day and did a 1-star raid on my own with my free daily raid pass. You see, you get 1 free in-person raid pass per day. You can't stack them, it's a use it or lose it scenario. But I got sick of watching the harder raids pass me by, so on Christmas Day 2023, I finally looked into how to use a third-party raiding app, PokeGenie, and invited 5 remote strangers to my local raid and caught my first 5-star legendary raid boss. Reggie Gixmis, I called him. He's terrible. And that was the beginning of a new obsession. Now, I still had a local player problem. There were still Pokemon raids that needed to be done in person with other people. So I expanded my search and finally found some players in a town 30 minutes away to do 5-star legendary raids with, and I caught my first legendary Shadow Pokemon. This was important because I had set a new goal of catching just the first 151 Pokemon in Go, and Zapdos was number 145. This was also the first time I brought 2 accounts into a 5-star raid. And it's a good thing too, because we needed the extra firepower. A couple weeks later, and after directly messaging someone in the abandoned Discord group, I finally weaseled my way into a local Facebook group chat where all the Pokemon Go locals were hanging out. That's why the Discord, Facebook page, and Campfire were dead. The core local community is hiding in an invite-only Facebook group chat. With determination and a small bribe, I snagged the other 2 legendary Gen 1 birds just in time before they stopped featuring in Shadow Raids. Hilariously, they all came back to regular raids a few months later anyway. This is when the real sickness set in. Shadow Articuno. This was the first 5-star raid I trioed on my own, after completing it the first time with my 3 and a new friend in town. It seemed really easy with my 3 accounts plus his 1, so I thought, maybe I can actually do this on my own. For my 3rd account, I just built up the other one I recovered from 2016. It had some decent Pokemon, and I just traded some other useful stuff over to it to round out the team. Articuno was easy. It's double weak to rock, and Shadow Pokemon take 20% more damage, so taking it down with 3 accounts was manageable for my mediocre raid teams consisting of common rock-type Pokemon. And it was a rush, playing the game on 3 phones at once, well, 2 phones and an iPad, and winning? I mean, the game is stupidly simple. You can just mash the screen, but still, I did it. I even got a shiny out of all that early madness. Now I wanted to use my free daily raid passes every day on a 5-star legendary raid to make the most of it. That meant finding a local raid every day. They appear randomly at gyms, so I needed to check often and hop to it if I saw one pop up. This never would have worked if my wife wasn't on maternity leave while I was just renovating our house full time. I had just enough flexibility in my schedule. Anyway, I couldn't beat 90% of them alone, so I still needed to use PokeGenie to host raids for others to join, which is honestly a pain in the ass. But 3 accounts meant 3 chances at the shiny, and my phone could just barely get enough cell service to tether my 2015 iPhone SE and the free iPad we got from the bank. Should I have just spent some money on remote raids? Probably. Should I have just not bothered catching more than 1 of any given species? Probably. Shiny Pokemon are a waste of time at best and a total scam at worst. And yet, I wanted them. So off I go every night, get my free Pokecoins and do my free raid in the dead of winter when it was dark at 5 p.m. And I was determined to build up all 4 accounts with Pokemon good enough to do raids, so I wouldn't need to rely on PokeGenie or driving all the way into town. I was going to become a one-man raid machine. When my wife let me borrow her phone, anyway. In February, there was a dragon event, and it snowed. I was literally running around in the snowy streets, catching all the dragons I could find before dark. Because dragons! Dragons are good against other dragons, and a lot of raid bosses are dragons. Then, the Sinnoh Tour happened. A new legendary raid boss every day, all week, with their legacy moves if you catch them between 6 and 7 p.m. during a raid hour. I didn't think my teams were ready to do it alone, but fortunately, I'd met another multi-account player who didn't live too far from me, so off I go. Every night, all week. 3 phones and an iPad. Now, I thought I was doing a great job taking advantage of all these opportunities, but my wife wasn't impressed. She just didn't understand though. You see, these raid boss Pokemon came with their exclusive moves, something you normally need to pay for, making this an incredible value. There was even an exclusive in-person raid on Valentine's Day. What's not to love? The cell service was garbage though for these raid hours. One night, we just had a ton of struggle to get even one raid completed, so we called it early. As I made my way home, I saw one last raid and decided to try it on my own. I figured I may as well, I have a free raid pass. I laid out the 4 devices across the hood of my car, prayed to the cell service gods, and became the Beethoven of Pokemon Go. And I did it. And I was rewarded with my first ever Shundo, a perfect, shiny, mythical Darkrai, on my main account even. This was now the game. Everything suddenly seemed possible. And it was all downhill from there. One of the season bonuses for the months of March through May was 2 free raid passes per day instead of the usual 1. All my limited spare time became hunting raids, organizing Pokemon, studying raid boss counters, managing resources, and optimizing the raid teams of 4 accounts. Not to mention grinding for Stardust and Candy, which are the resources needed to evolve and power up Pokemon. Pokemon Go was my thing. My only thing. Every chance I got, I was min-maxing this pointless crap. Why again am I doing this? I started playing because I wanted to get the mythicals. Then I found other ways to do that. Here they are. So that's no longer the goal. Along the way, I changed the goal and started making a living Go Dex. I thought just the first 151 for old time's sake, but then I just kept going. And then I silently changed the goal again. Now I want to get every legendary Pokemon as a shiny. It's just a numbers game. The odds are 1 in 20, and the more accounts I have, the more chances I get per raid. And that's going great. But I changed the goal again. I want hundos. I want level 50 legendaries. I want to build PvP teams, which is yet another category of collecting and extremely time consuming. And why stop at a living dex? Let's build a shiny dex. No. I certainly don't need to do a 5-star raid every day. I don't need a shiny Hundo level 50 legendary, no matter what Count Jinsala says. I don't need more Charizard Mega Energy PokeDexy. I've come to learn that I'm actually really susceptible to the tactics used by games like this to keep me in their world. The same thing happened to me with Destiny. If I was able to control 6 accounts at once in Destiny, I might never have stopped playing it. Raiding in that game was actually fun, but beyond that, it was all about loot. Resources, XP, the relentless grind. And Pokemon Go is a grind. Oh, a Stardust XP and or Candy boosted event? I better play the shit out of that. 1 in 128 shiny odds? Yes, please. While I'm giving my child a bath, they have me thinking, will I make it to that raid in time? Oh no, Spotlight Hour starts in 10 minutes. Oh, and I better spend an hour each night trading Pokemon because they might go lucky and get better stats. And I need to get in some battles, gotta get that Stardust. Now if I use 800 particles a day for the next 4 days, I should be able to get these Machamps up to a high enough level to take on Lapras on Sunday, but I need to save 1000 MP from Saturday so I can do 4 battles instead of 3. I'm tired of this game telling me when and where to play it. I'm not having fun, and I feel manipulated. This RNG bullshit is bad for my brain, so why didn't I stop? 'Cause I wanna be the very best. Now, this might all sound bad, but it gets worse. See, because I wasn't playing any other games, and I wasn't making any videos, I knew my editing skills would begin to slip. So I decided to create a throwaway YouTube channel about Pokemon Go, just as practice, a way to justify everything I've learned about the game and make the obscene amount of time I've put into it somehow feel worth it. And it took off. So now I'm a Pokemon Go YouTuber. Or I should say, I was, because I quit. Cold turkey. I'm done. I've deleted the game off my phone. I don't like how the only non-Pokemon game I've played in the past 2 years is Tears of the Kingdom. I would have played that game even more than the 100 hours I have, but I always felt like I needed to get back into Pokemon Go. The silver lining is now I can just wait to play more Zelda when I can do it on the Switch too. But for now, I am still playing the mainline series Pokemon games. If not for my Pokemon Go side quest, I'd easily be done catching them all and would have moved on from all this. As of this recording, I've just finished catching everything up through Gen 8 and already have quite a bit caught from Scarlet, since that's where it all started 2.5 years ago. And when I'm finally done catching them all, I'm going to Pokemon Go play some better video games.